Hey, what is happening, you wicked wormhole? We've got some newly revealed cards from over the weekend during the Champions League Tokyo tournament that happened in Japan. Let's start off with the Melodic EX right away. EX Pokemon Stage 1. Sparkling Scales prevent all damage and effective attacks from your opponent's Terra Pokemon done to this Pokemon. I didn't really think about this too hard, but it does kind of make sense that they did give us a wall Pokemon for Terra Pokemon, and that's what this Melodic EX is. 270 HP for a Water Double Colorless, 160. Your opponent's active is now asleep, so we're not really one-hit KOing anything, and in some situations we're three-hit KOing stuff like a Charizard EX, but if we can't get punched back, that seems pretty good. Like, this card probably by itself like auto wins the Charizard matchup. I mean, you have to probably set up a couple of them, but then you probably are just good to go. Radiant Charizard can still hit you, but you do one-hit KO Radiant Charizard with the Hypno Splash. So yeah, we'll see how this card plays out. I feel like a lot of the decks, a lot of Terra decks have outs to Pokemon like Melodic. Well, I guess I'm kind of thinking about more like Area Zero decks, like Palkia V-Star with Terra Pokemon like Terrapagos. Yeah, Palkia. Charizard, though, not really. Even something like Dragapult would have questionable outs to the Melodic, but Feebas doesn't have that much HP, so maybe you could just trap them to one Melodic and then deal with it later with like a Radzard, possibly. But yeah, definitely a solid card that we'll just see more play if we see more play from a Terra Pokemon. And of course, we have more Terra Pokemon coming out, and they've been pretty good so far. So, and speaking of Terra Pokemon, Terra Pikachu EX, yep, the hype card from the weekend, and it does seem pretty good. It's got 200 HP. It's a lightning Pokemon. The Enduring Heart ability, if this Pokemon has full HP and will be knocked out by damage from an attack, it is not knocked out, and its remaining HP is 10 instead. That's pretty good. The attack also could hit pretty hard, but it does cost a Grass, Lightning, and a Metal. It does 300 damage, and then you discard 3 energy from this Pokemon. So I think you could build a deck around this Pikachu, especially with the Magneton that has now been officially revealed. We already knew about this card, but once in your turn, you may attach up to 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Lightning Pokemon in any way you like. If you do, this Pokemon is knocked out. So a lot of people are speculating that this card seems really, really good with Miraidon in general. You could get just basic Lightnings, of course, but you could also play it with the Pikachu to be able to do that 300 damage for the Grass, Lightning, Metal, and an effective, you know, your Pikachu is basically invincible. I mean, of course, there's ways to deal with this. Canceling Cologne could knock it out on a following turn. Like, let's say you do 200 damage with Dragapult, right? It lives with 100. It basically survives with 190 HP. Then next turn you gust something else up, and you like could knock it out with spread damage from Dragapult. Or if you're playing Regidrago, you could do the same thing with the Dragapult attack. Or Hawlucha, right? You could use a Hawlucha ping to KO this. Alakazam could move damage from one place to another as well, and then all of a sudden make it so this thing's ability is no longer active. So there's a ton of ways to deal with the ability. It's not broken, but it's pretty good, right? You'd rather have this than not. Besides, like, its own deck, this is definitely going to be really, really good in Miraidon if Miraidon is powerful enough to survive, because one of the problems with the current builds of Area Zero Miraidon is you have to play the Terra Mewtwo, which has 2 retreat costs, which really sucks. Now, we are getting Latias EX as well in this set that gives all basic Pokemon free retreat, but it does eat up a bench space, and it is a Pokemon. Rescue board is really, really easy to find in like the secret box builds of Miraidon, so that would really combo well alongside the Pikachu EX because it has 1 retreat cost. The Mewtwo having the 2 retreat costs can make it annoying to move around or opponent trapping it in the active at the end of the game, but being able to slap a rescue board on a Pikachu EX gives it the mobility we need. Now, if you play Latias EX, it doesn't really matter what the retreat cost of the Pokemon is, of course, but if it turns out that the bench space that the Latias takes up, as well as the having to go get another Pokemon to be able to enable your pivot cards is too much for Miraidon to do, then playing Pikachu EX alongside like 2 rescue board would also kind of solve your mobility issue in Miraidon. I think there's also you can like push this up turn 1. Like if you play this in a Miraidon deck, you can push it up turn 1 as kind of like a wall up against decks that can't reasonably get through the Enduring Heart ability of the Pikachu EX. So that's kind of cool as well. It's like pushing up a 1 prizer for a turn, but instead you're pushing up something that just can't be KO'd. So it's about the same thing, but instead of giving up potentially 1 prize card, you give up 0. So that could be a little bit better in some scenarios. There is this Togekiss. I'm just going to go through this real fast. This card sucks. It's a stage 2. Whenever your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, flip a coin if heads, take 1 more prize card. I don't think it's very good. This ability does not stack. That's actually a new term that I didn't realize was being used in the PokemonTCG. Bouffalant's ability from Stellar Crown says the exact same thing. This ability does not stack. Instead of you can only use this ability once per turn or whatever. Or you can't use multiple of this ability during the same turn. So the term stack, I guess, has been introduced into the PokemonTCG as of last set, actually. But yeah, Togekiss, it sucks. Just want to get out of the way before I get asked about it. It's not good. One card that looks like it might not be good, but I think has the potential is the Hydron EX. It is a stage 2. 330 HP is pretty good. The first attack for a Dark and a Colorless isn't super inefficient. 200 damage discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. That's fine. The secondary attack, it costs a lot of energy. Psychic, Dark, Metal, Colorless for the Obsidian. 130, and then it does 130 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So theoretically, you could win a game with this card in 2 attacks. You go Obsidian, Obsidian, that's it, game over. You could KO, I don't know, like they could have like Squawkabilly, Pheasantipity, and a Raging Bolt in play, and you go 130 to those 3, and then 130 again, game over. Now, how are we setting this up is the question. Neo Upper Energy exists. We also have access to Crispin, of course, a Dark Patch. It is a Dark Pokemon. Matang, probably not, but I guess it exists. Crispin's probably the main one I would look at, to be honest. And because you can theoretically win in 2 attacks with this card, you can make the whole deck around just setting up a single Hydreigon that you like attach the Brace to, the Brace tool card. That means we couldn't play Neo Upper Energy, but if we don't get KO'd to guarantee the back-to-back Obsidian attacks, I don't know, that sounds pretty good. So we spend our whole game, our first couple turns of the game, just setting up towards a single Hydreigon, and then we win the game with the Hydreigon over 2 attacks. That doesn't seem terrible, to be honest. The Brace, for anyone who doesn't know, is an A-Spec card. We already have access to it. It's not a new card. If it basically is the Pikachu's ability on a tool card. Yeah, it's literally this on a tool card. If we have full HP and we would be knocked out, we're not KO'd, and instead we have 10 HP, and then you discard the tool card. So that could be cool with Hydreigon to make it survive 2 turns, to pull off 2 Obsidian attacks, and then draw 6 prize cards in 2 turns. That's pretty cool. My favorite card that was revealed, of course, is the Tatugiri EX. 160 HP, basic, Sucker, Punch, Pump, 100 damage for a fire and a water. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, so effectively a Shred attack, and then the Cinnabar Lure for Fire, Water, Dark. Look at the top 10 cards of your deck and put any number of Pokemon you find there onto your bench. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. I don't like this card because it's good. I like this card because it's Tatugiri. Tatugiri is pretty dope. The attack, the Pokemon itself is pretty bad. The second attack, you could definitely come up with some really cool meme deck where you put a bunch of like really bad stage 2 Pokemon that are really awkward to get into play on your bench, but it's less bad because of Cinnabar Lure. That could be kind of cool, but yeah, overall, obviously a terrible card. If this sees play, I'd be very surprised in competition. A card that some people have been saying is terrible, but I think probably has some potential. I think it's got potential. I use that word a lot. It has fit the potential category. The Slacking EX, Stage 2, 340 HP, colorless Pokemon here. Slacking off ability. If your opponent has no Pokemon EX or Pokemon V in play, this Pokemon can't attack. So they have to have an EX or a Pokemon V in play to be able to attack with this thing. Luckily for Slacking, pretty much every deck is a Pokemon EX or Pokemon V deck. And then the Great Swing attack for 2 colorless energy, which is pretty efficient. It does 280 damage. You do discard an energy from this Pokemon, so that is a little bit annoying. Of course, this works with double turbo energy. The fact that you have to discard it immediately kind of sucks. So we're looking at like 4 attacks total. But 4 attacks total without any recovery. I mean, Roseanne's backup could get involved. Silene, maybe. But if we're taking 2 prize cards per attack, we only need to attack 4 times. We're up against a Raging Bolt deck. Great Swing, Great Swing, Great Swing. That's game. It's done. It's over. We also have 340 HP. That's pretty good. Definitely has potential as like an anti-2 prize big basics deck, or even like stage 1s, like even against Palkia. If we can get some kind of damage modifier cooking, or just gust stuff up off the bench, we can win in 3 attacks against stuff like Palkia V-Star, obviously like Raging Bolt, Miraidon. We can beat all those decks in 3 attacks with a 340 HP Pokemon here. Doesn't seem terrible, to be honest. It does not seem terrible. Now, it would have to be probably require the correct meta. Like, I don't think this deck is beating Charizard, just based on like the back and forth of a two hit for a 2 hit, and the fact that Charizard does have more to it than just being able to 2 hit a Slacking, whereas that's all that Slacking is really bringing to a matchup against something like Charizard, I would say. And then also, if you're 2 hitting them, we need more than 4 double turbo energy to like 2 hit through 3 Charizards or something like that. So really good against those 2 prize Pokemon, the stage 1s, effective stage 1s like V-Stars and basics. But once we get to those stage 2 Pokemon, the Pokemon that have too much HP to be able to be 1-hit KO'd, do we include something like the Maximum Belts? What other damage modifiers could we play to get there? It's possible we can still make it work, but seems a little bit difficult. There's this Terrapagos here that probably combos with like a straight Pikachu EX deck with that Prism Charge for a colorless energy. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards of different types and attach them to your Terra Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. So some form of Terrapagos plus Magneton plus the Pikachu EX seems pretty good. Like, that seems like a deck right there. And then Pikachu EX is an effective multiple Pokemon because of its ability, depending on the situation, depending on the matchup, depending on how much people tech for this. Like I said, Canceling Cologne does kind of shut this thing down, so that would be a way to get through Pikachu's ability. Any deck can play Canceling Cologne if they want to. And it probably like slots in pretty reasonably into like Pokestop decks like Raging Bolt. So I feel like the Pikachu deck, if it's good, it's too easy to counter, but it might be able to like sneak up on certain metas and people kind of forget about the Enduring Heart or aren't teching for Enduring Heart, and then that's where you can take advantage of the Pikachu EX deck. A couple trainer cards as well here. We have the Amped Stadium. Basic Pokemon in play, get 30 more HP. I mean, that's not bad. It doesn't seem overly good. Like, passive stadiums like this aren't great. Path to the Peak, I think, is like an exception for anyone who played when Path to the Peak was a card. But generally, a stadium that your opponent can take advantage of or remove during their turn, or kind of like aggressively play around, is usually not as good. Something like a Town Store or Mesagoza, where you flip a coin of heads, you get your Pokemon, or use Town Store to go search out an item card or a tool card, excuse me. Those are a little bit more powerful because you get the effect immediately. You do get the 30 HP immediately, but your opponent has time to kind of bump the stadium or play around it before the HP actually matters, because your opponent's not attacking during your turn when you put this in play. You're not using this to stop yourself from getting knocked out or something like that. Got the Colbur Berry. We kind of expected this to happen. We're probably going to see this for every single type of Pokemon. Whenever the Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged by Dark Pokemon, you take 60 less damage from that attack, and then you discard this card. We've already seen this for a couple different types up to this point. Let me see, what else did we get here? Got the Gravity Mountain. Stage 2 Pokemon in play, get 30 less HP. I don't know how I feel about this. It's like, they're really hating on Stage 2 Pokemon, and I feel like Stage 2 Pokemon aren't even like that, I don't know, aggressive, oppressive in this format right now. It's like 2 prize, Stage 1, basic EXs and V-Stars are doing just fine, but Gravity Mountain, Stage 2s get minus 30 HP. Now this is an aggressive stadium. This is something that we can utilize during the turn we play it. If you're up against a Charizard deck with your Pikachu deck, you're doing 300, you put this stadium in play before you attack, the opponent's Charizard goes down to 300 HP, you knock him out, right? So this stadium is actually probably pretty decent in like that Pikachu deck. We got Jasmine's Gaze here. During your opponent's next turn, each of your Pokemon take 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. A little bit too weak. 30 damage is not a lot. Using our supporter for turn on that does not seem great. We got the Miraculous Intercom. Put up to 2 supporters from your discard pile into your hand. I don't know, getting back 2 supporters with our... I think there's just better A specs. And we see a lot of decks playing Palpad right now, like the Raging Bolts and stuff like that. And I don't think you'd ever not play Prime Catcher to play Miraculous Intercom instead of just including a Palpad and going through the variants of having to find the Palpad, put the cards back into your deck, and then having to find those cards again. This doesn't outweigh that in terms of getting rid of like our Prime Catcher. So this does not seem like a great A-Spec card, but I don't want to say any A-Specs are like terrible, except for maybe Rich Energy. That one's pretty terrible, but it's definitely like super niche. Maybe like Control and Stall will utilize it, but Hero's Cape is pretty good, or even the Brace is pretty good in those ones as well. So I'm not convinced that Miraculous Intercom will be played in much, if anything. And then the last card that was revealed is the Fluorite Technical Machine. They're still giving us Technical Machines. I actually thought we were maybe done with Technical Machines. Discard all energy from this Pokemon for a Grass, Water, and Psychic, and then heal all damage from each of your Terra Pokemon. This could combo pretty interestingly with the Pikachu, to be honest. And this is another tool card that does combo with Cramorant, that if we have 4 cards in our Lost Zone, the Cramorant could use the effect of this TM evolution for free. There's a lot of requirements to be met, though. We have to have attacked with a Terra Pokemon, probably, that then gets hit. Then we can move it to the bench into something that we want to put this on for our whole turn, not draw any prize cards, just to heal that Terra Pokemon. So more likely than not, we'd want to utilize this in a situation where like multiple of our Terra Pokemon have been hit, but that's like a pretty unique or pretty situational situation. Like, we've had to have had multiple Terra Pokemon be hit but not KO'd, and then we're able to push up something that can utilize this, either the Cram or something with a Grass, Water, and Psychic on it to then heal those Pokemon. In some kind of like stall style deck, this could work, but how are we protecting those Pokemon from being gusted on the bench after they take that hit is the question. I don't have an answer for that, really, to be honest. This might be like a good tech card against Hydron, though. You could, yeah, that could be something, maybe. Probably not. Yeah, this card is like super situational. It doesn't seem very good overall. And that's all the new cards revealed. Let me know what you all think about them in the comment section below. Let me know what you want to be comboing them with when they drop. Let me know what ideas y'all have come up with. I'll catch y'all in the next video.